Look, I've seen members of parliament get elected and they're practically floating. I mean, they're living in a different stratosphere. And I've seen them become ministers and they become even worse. You need a rope to sort of tie them back to earth. They're floating away. Um, so look, I agree totally with everything you're saying. For me, when I go home,
I wanted to move on now to a fairly recent incident, which included the shutdown of Facebook. So that recent decision to shut down Facebook, it raised deep concerns about free speech and access to information. What's your perspective on this move, and what does it suggest about PNG's democratic direction? I ask because you are very vocal on Facebook and you disseminate information to us, which we love. We like to know what's going on. We like our questions answered when others don't want to answer them or when we feel ignored. What was your reaction to the Facebook shutdown, and why is this dangerous in a democracy? What does it say about transparency?
look, members of parliament, once they know they're doing the wrong thing, they want to shut down criticism. I mean, that's basically a trend worldwide, not just in Papua New Guinea. It's a human trend, yeah. So in Papua New Guinea, you've got a very unpopular government already.
Right.
They know it. They know they're unpopular. So, but they don't care. They just want to keep. Remember, I said earlier that when members of parliament get elected, the people lose control of the member of parliament the minute he gets sworn in. So he runs rogue. He does whatever. If he wants to do the right thing, he does the right thing. If he doesn't want to do the right thing, he doesn't have to. So there's no accountability mechanism once the member gets elected. The people lose control. And that's the importance of mechanisms like Facebook. Facebook is an accountability mechanism. Yeah, you get some people use it for stupid things. That's a given, and we should manage that. We should come up with laws that manage everyone that abuses whatever public mechanism. We have laws for murderers, rape, and all these sorts of people. Yeah, we should have laws for people who abuse Facebook.
Right.
We haven't brought any, and not just Facebook. Any. So other countries have done it. Papua New Guinea, no, we're not. We haven't. What's our solution? Ban it. Okay. Um,
I couldn't believe it. Oh, and the thing is, everyone was in uproar about it.
did I mention Tucker Box earlier on? Did you hear me
It's
say
written
that?
in my notes, Governor. I've got it here.
Okay. Okay. So look, I get criticized a lot on Facebook. Someone got my face and superimposed it on a really fat lady with big, breasts and
Wow.
everything else, and they were like, "Oh, this is government bird and big lipstick and everything," and I'm like, mate, I can still bench press 140 kilos. Hello, and I'm not a young man, so I didn't mind. I didn't mind that someone did a. I laughed. I laughed at it because, mate, you want me to take off my shirt?
But it's you gotta
Uh,
have thick skin, right? You'd think in politics you have thick skin because, like you said, social
look,
media has become an accountability platform, not just in Papua New Guinea, all
absolutely,
over the world. And
absolutely, all over the
we need
world.
it. I mean, we need to know what's going on. We need to make informed decisions. We want to have a one-on-one contact with our leaders. We don't want this to be a whole separate thing where, our leaders become completely unreachable. And I'm going to touch on that shortly. But I do, yeah, I was very shocked by it. So I wanted to know how you felt about that.
Look, I came out with a post or something that where I said when all accountability mechanisms fail, that's when the people must step in. I said that a while back, and Peter Siamelili and other MPs were really pissed off. They're like, "No, you're going to come challenge us on the floor." Yeah, but you control the floor, Parliament.
Yeah,
Hello, you don't control the people.
correct.
Okay, and funny enough, just the other day, Bruce Springsteen in America said the same thing
Yeah,
I said.
yeah, he did.
So I'm like, wow, I've always loved Bruce Springsteen and, born in the USA and all of that. And it's like, wow. And he said the same thing. So, democracy works because of universal principles like accountability to the people. So when all accountability mechanisms fails, like in Papua New Guinea, all our accountability mechanisms are non-existent. Parliament cannot hold the Prime Minister accountable. So when that fails, the final accountability is the people. Where do the people go? The people go to Facebook. That's the final accountability mechanism. I did a post that said, you know, uh, Facebook is the people's parliament. I did a post
I,
like that.
I did see
And
that.
like,
I did see that actually.
I think 10,000 Papua New Guineans
Yeah,
loved
I
it,
was one of
like,
those
so
10,000 because I was like, actually, that's so
exactly,
right. Because, we do watch parliament
exactly,
sessions and we do watch the chat, and I love that people get so involved. And I'm just like, if
exactly.
only the
Look,
leaders read what we're writing, wouldn't that be nice? You know?
90 people control the country right now. 90 members of parliament.
And what's our
And they don't
population? Oh,
care
that's right.
what
We
the
didn't have a
public thinks.
census. We don't even know our population. That's right. Yeah.
So I'm like, well, in a democracy, the people rule. Just because you were elected through a faulty electoral process, some of them got elected by marking the ballot papers themselves. Some of them got elected by sticking guns in the face of the electoral officials. I didn't do that. So not all of us were elected the same way. I respect my people. I respect my voters. If my voters turn around tomorrow and said, look, Governor Bird, we want you to leave, I'd leave. Because I represent them. And if I no longer enjoy their confidence, I should respect their views.
Yeah. Well,
You
that's
know?
that's the
Um,
honorable part, right? Of the title.
Democracy doesn't work unless you have honor and accountability and all those things with it.
Correct.
Otherwise, you might as well be, Kim Jong Un.
Right.
You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
And as we're talking on that, one thing that continues to affect governance is the lack of civic education around what elected leadership is truly meant to be, right? Many of our people see MPs as chiefs or overlords, not just public servants elected to represent them. Do you think we need to change the way we engage with our elected leaders? Do you think the whole red carpet treatment, the bowing down, the public worship of politicians needs to stop? And I'm not saying that we stop respecting our leaders. No. Respect is a beautiful part of our culture. But our leaders are not above us. They are elected to serve us and help us. They are accountable to us as the people who vote, not the other way around. And if you're a Christian, no one is above God. This big man mentality that we see day in, day out, do you think it's partly to blame for the governance issues that we see?
Look, I've seen members of parliament get elected and they're practically floating. I mean, they're living in a different stratosphere. And I've seen them become ministers and they become even worse. You need a rope to sort of tie them back to earth. They're floating away. Um, so look, I agree totally with everything you're saying. For me, when I go home, I always like to go and engage with my people because they remind me that I'm their voice. And a lot of members of parliament are like, "Oh, you talk too much." I'm like, "Mate, have you met a civic woman?"
Hey, sorry, I have lots of civic friends. Shout out Antonia Singwood.
Exactly. Now, Antonia is my
Oh, is
niece,
she?
by the way.
Oh, she's one of
Distantly,
my
yeah.
best friends. Yes. Yeah.
So, like, and I'm born of a civic
Yeah.
woman. I grew up with civic women having some of the loudest mouths you've ever come across. So
Gotta respect
my
it. Gotta
civic women
respect
are
it.
louder than me. So I represent that electorate. Like, if something is wrong, they come up to me straight away and they're like, Governor, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And I'm standing there listening to civic women. Like, I represent that electorate. You know, I went to Leh one time and, the road from Nadzab to Leh was really bad and you sort of bounce all the way in. And by the time you get there, your backbone is almost dislocated and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And we get a couple of potholes in Wewak and oh my God, people are ripping my head off. Now in Leh, the people of Morobe, for 12 years, 15 years, they had this really bad road. They never complained. They were just like, oh, it's okay. We just,
Wow.
you get a few potholes in Civic and the governor's head gets ripped off. You look at now, every province in Papua New Guinea is having power problems. Who's complaining? The Civic people are complaining. They have a right to
We're gonna
complain.
be more like
Just because the
them. We're
people
gonna be
in
more.
the people in Alatau, they have no power, but they don't complain. So
We have to be more like the Civic women. We need to speak up. We need to be bold because
look, I totally, you know, respect that my Civic women speak up like
I
that,
do
and
too.
I'm glad that they do because they keep me accountable.
Yeah, and Didn't you say that earlier? Isn't that what's missing? That accountability line. Yeah,
Agreed.
yeah. And, I say it's a concern because when you're elected in your electorate, that big man mentality carries into Port Moresby, right? They bring like almost a superiority complex with them. They're too proud to ask for help. They don't want to seek expert advice, or they don't want to admit that they don't know something, and that pride can really stall development. Do you think a dose of humility could help us govern better?
Oh, look, absolutely. Look, humility is not just it's not just about you saying you want to be humble. You got to actually do it. Like I had the unique perspective of watching, Bernard Narakobi, the late Bernard Narakobi, Grand Chief Sir Michael. I had the opportunity to watch them interact with the electorate, the Civic electorate. I watched them, and I saw people scream and shout and yell at them, disagreeing with them. And I saw these two great men just sit there and smile and take it. And I thought,
Wow.
wow, you know.
That is
So
humility.
I go home and I go home and my people scream and shout and yell and disagree with me. And you know, I'm a Civic, and these are the two Civic leaders that I've watched operate. And I try to emulate that as much as possible. Look, I will never ever say that I'm anywhere near the leagues that these two great men were in, but I was fortunate to watch them operate, and I try to adopt the things that they did as much as I can, because you know I watched Tamari get really criticized in a couple of elections that I ran against him. And I was like, my God, I'm going to win. That people hate this guy. Like, look at the way they're criticizing him. But his response was always, he took the criticism and he accepted it, and they respected him for it. And he beat me. Like, so I'm like, wow. So that taught me something. I was like, okay. The, I was criticized really badly leading up to the 2022 elections.
Oh,
And I was worried. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to lose the elections. Like, look at the way people are criticizing me. It's scary. I'm like, my work isn't finished. My cocoa work, my baby, it's not finished. And they're going to kick me out. And so, but guess what? I won. I'm the first person in East, West Sepik, and Medang to win with an absolute majority
wow.
under the system.
Wow.
The only other person that did it was in 1972 when Sir Michael was elected unopposed.
Wow.
Basically, nobody nominated against him in 72.
Wow.
So that humbled me and it taught me a lot. Like my electorate, they'll criticize me and I listen. And if I follow the same thing that Somari did, which is to listen and to take the criticism, they respect you for it and they'll elect you back. Most of my colleagues, they can't handle that. They can't handle the criticism. And like I said, I wouldn't have done it myself if I hadn't seen how it works. And that's part of the job. You represent those people,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and they're going to disagree with you at some point. The population of ECP is like, I don't know, close to like 700,000 people now. Not
Wow.
everyone is going to agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we're, we're bigger than almost bigger than Fiji now,
Wow.
so you've got to learn to take on board all of that, and that's just, and I think every other member of parliament needs to learn to see it for what it is and its usefulness.
Right.